Following through with the theme of celebrating Tata Nelson Mandela's legacy, we now take a look at Madiba as a tourist attraction. For this, I'm joined in Cape Town by Enver Duminy. He is the Chief Executive of Cape Town Tourism. Good to have you with us today, Enver. Maybe if you can pick up on some of the trends that we've seen with Madiba being the cornerstone of tourism in Cape Town. Have we seen a particular uptick in the level of interest?
Good afternoon. Yes, I think that if we look at just after his passing a year ago, some of the numbers have indicated that has been an increase, but we also need to be mindful of the fact that at the same time it was peak season for tourism in Cape Town. So to say it's isolated specifically around Madiba, is difficult to do. But if we look at specific attractions like Robben Island, that has definitely shown a bigger increase in its numbers year on year when compared to 2012. And if I look at its performance against other key tourism destinations and attractions in Cape Town, Robben Island's performance was a lot better than some of those other key attractions.
What about forgotten sites? The Victor Verster prison comes to mind. Has this also seen a slight pickup perhaps in tourism?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, no, it hasn't. For us, the challenge is always about making sure that, the stories and the context and the product that is related to Tata Madiba is, telling and portraying a story that is insightful, that is truthful. And for us, it's not about the numbers necessarily, but about the story and the legacy that it leaves. Because if we're going to fixate ourselves only on the numbers, then it's about the commercial aspect of that. And I think for us as Cape Town and Cape Town Tourism, it's beyond the commercial aspect. And that's why even as a destination, we focus on what they call responsible tourism, where it's about making sure that tourism benefits not only private sector, but the beneficiation goes also through to having a proper social impact for those that are maybe distanced from tourism.
Enver, I love your response to that. It's not just about the commercialization, but the history lesson and the legacy of the man. Has this been a difficult mindset to instill and maybe change in some business owners who think differently?
I think for us as a tourism association, it hasn't been that difficult because I think, and actually I know, what Tata Madiba has meant not only to tourism but to everyone in this country. And if we look at some of the products and experiences that do exist, that have been in existence since early 2000, we have a lot of tours and tourism experiences where most people actually are saying, well, I would like to understand your political history. And then, Madiba, Robben Island becomes a starting point. What we also see a shift in tourism now is that people actually want to engage and experience like locals. So, the old school days of people sitting on buses and being ferried through communities, etc., is changing. However, for us, the problem is that the change is not as quickly as we would like. But as Cape Town Tourism, we continue to engage with both local government as well as the tourism industry to find the mechanisms where they can get off the bus, engage with the locals, speak to the locals, buy some and consume some of the local retail offerings that are there. And I think that's one of the biggest shifts that we've seen specifically from the key source markets like the US, the UK and Germany, where they actually want to go into the communities and kind of hang out with locals.
Just on that, Enver, are we finding new models being developed, like if there could be a Madiba Cape Town tour where people go to various locations, including Robben Island?
Well, those tours already exist. There's Footsteps to Freedom, there's Madiba in Cape Town, there's also the Revolution route. So these tours and experiences are in existence, and what we've seen when we've spoken to the tour operators, they said they've seen a significant increase, not just from an international perspective, but also more interestingly for us as from a domestic perspective. Because I think sometimes we always believe that, when it comes to tourism, it's for foreigners, where a lot of locals don't actually appreciate and engage and actually understand, what the international crowds or visitors are actually so excited about, and we sometimes take it for granted. So there has been a big shift that we've seen in speaking to travel agents and tour operators, that there's a bigger increase or growth from domestic tourists in experiencing, tours of Madiba, going to Victor Verster, like you said, going to the Mandela Museum, at Rakenstein facility, whether it's going to City Hall. So there's lots of attractions and experiences beyond the obvious, which normally people would perceive as being Robben Island. But even if you go up Table Mountain, you get a view of Robben Island. So it's not just about engaging directly with the product, it's also the other experiences that go around the destination.
Enver, thank you so much for your insights today. Such a pleasure speaking to you. That was Enver Duminy. He's the Chief Executive of Cape Town Tourism.